everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dribble podcast. My name is Craig O'Donoghue from the West Australian newspaper, taking you through another season of talking to guests from the Perth Wildcats, Perth Lynx and WA basketball in general to give you the best insight possible into what's happening in the sport throughout this state. In this week's episode, we'll be joined by former Perth Wildcats captain Shawn Redhage ahead of Friday night's historic retiring of his famous number 42 jersey. Plus, Perth Lynx star Amy Atwell will join us after being selected in the Australian Opals squad for the first time. But first, it's been a long time between drinks since the Perth Wildcats retired a jersey. Ricky Grace, Mike Ellis, James Crawford, Scott Fenton, Scott Fisher and Andrew Vlahov's jerseys already hang from the roof in RSC Arena. And on Friday night, number 42, Shawn Redhage will join them. Shawn, welcome to the Dribble podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's going to be an exciting week, so looking forward to Friday night, that's for sure.
It's been a while since I actually announced it, so what's the build-up like for you, given you've known for a bit, but you get the anticipation now?
Yeah, well, I mean, going to the game on Saturday and seeing the open air, and then being able to I just get it, soak in that a little bit. Looking forward to finally, I guess, having it unveiled in a few days' time. It's it's definitely an honor you don't take lightly. And I mean, you mentioned it there. I think the last one was Ricky Grace, and that was a while back. So my first game here was Ricky Grace's testimonial game before the actual preseason game. So, it was back in 2005. And, I guess it's always tough to back up probably the greatest Wildcat of all time. But, definitely a huge honor.
Will you have family flying from the US or anything like that, or is that just expensive and not realistic?
Oh, look, I would love to have the family here. I think there's a variety of reasons probably not going to be likely, but my family here, friends and teammates, and 14,000 Red Army, I think it'll be a pretty good celebration.
So how much do you admire the other names up there? Because that's a big part about it, I reckon, that it's not just you're going up, it's that you're going up to join those blokes.
Yeah, well, I mean, you think about those names. They're not only icons of the Perth Wildcats, but they're icons of WA sport. And, you look at where the Wildcats are today, and it doesn't happen unless you've got some incredible players and human beings come before you and, kind of lay the foundation. So, Mike Ellis kind of started it off, and then you've got those guys that came through, Vlahov and Crawford and Grace and Fisher, that kind of led the charge of building the Wildcats to where they are now. And, been fortunate to be a part of, kind of our history through the time that I spent with the club. So, I mean, you look at that, just tremendous amount of respect. And, you still walk around Perth and everyone talks about kind of the glory days of those guys that, they just put the Wildcats on the map. And that's hard to do. I mean, you come in a new club that comes in and just takes over a city, and just the appreciation and I guess the pride that they have here in WA with the Wildcats, it's pretty remarkable.
And your era was such a golden era as well. There could be a spate of these sorts of things happening in the future, isn't there? Like, you're going to start, you'll be the first of what could be several of your teammates going in as well.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, you look at the success that we had over say that 6, 7, 10-year period. Damian Martin, Jesse Wagstaff, Matty Nye, Greg Heyer. These guys have just kind of, they put on that Wildcats jersey and they absolutely loved it, and had a lot of success. So there hasn't been too many teams that played in that many grand finals in such a short period of time and been able to win a few championships along the way. So there's definitely some more names deserving, that's for sure.
One of the really cool things I reckon about yourself is that you came to Perth with just the hope of building a career. There was no real hype about you at the time, but you end up playing 380 games, 6 Wildcats MVP awards, 4 championships and Olympics. What are your favourite memories of such an extraordinary career?
Oh, look, I think, sometimes, I mean, like, you do these interviews and people will rattle off that stuff, and you just kind of pinch yourself. Like, I was just lucky to come over and have a job and just get a chance to play NBL. You know, when you're at the New Zealand Breakers and they cut you and tell you pretty much that you're not up to NBL standard. You know, to kind of get a second chance doesn't happen to a lot of players. And then to make the most of it, and then carve out a career at the best club in Australian, NBL is it just kind of just out of the realm of possibilities, really. My initial goal was to play college basketball, get a scholarship. Parents said that they weren't going to pay for college, so if I didn't want to have a lot of debt when I finished my college degree, get on the basketball court and start working hard. So that's kind of what I did. That was my goal. Kind of probably my senior year in college, I thought, well, let's give this professional thing a crack. The only job offer I got was Tasmania. I landed in Burnie, Tasmania, and played in my first game in Penguin, Tasmania, and kind of away you went. And you just never know what's going to happen. You just take your opportunities, and there's probably tons of basketballers out there just as good as me that probably just didn't have that opportunity. But I was fortunate to have that opportunity and make the most of it.
Penguin, what a great team name. Now, this is what I don't reckon anyone understands. You mentioned New Zealand before. So they signed you, but eventually they decided you weren't good enough, and it wasn't long before they didn't decide you weren't good enough. But this is your first game. Some audio from your first game.
Oh, my goodness. Redhage. His confidence must be sky high now. That's a big play. And now on the fast break at the other end. Don't hang on the furniture. Redhage makes a statement in the NBL.
Don't hang on the furniture. What a great line. So you scored 27 points on debut. A few weeks later, you had 4 single-digit games in a row, and they sacked you. Like, what happened?
Oh, look, I think there's I think a lot of it comes down to the business side of sports. And you see this happens with clubs all over the spot, all over the league, especially, things aren't going well. And, the Breakers were a new team, second year in the NBL, just trying to crack in and kind of make their mark on the league. I was kind of brought in to back up Pero Cameron, who's icon of New Zealand basketball. A few years earlier, coming off an All-Star 5 at the World Championships, which is just an incredible achievement for him. So, my role was to kind of be that spark off the bench. It was kind of that first time in I guess the professional that I'd kind of played that role. So it was a bit of a learning experience for me. And then, we lost a few games, and I think there was a little bit. Originally, they'd wanted to sign Marcus Timmons, but he decided to go back to Cairns. But then they released him. It just kind of started this domino, where then that he was available, and they thought that he could come in and kind of save the team that year and was a better fit. So. You kind of quickly learned it is the business side of sports, and unfortunately, but look back on it now, I'm thankful I got they made that change and eventually ended up out west. So when I landed here and get taken to Scarborough Beach and get to watch the sunset and get to train here in the west, and the winter times are pretty mild compared to where I'm from in Nebraska. So, I just feel like I'm on holidays since I arrived.
And you didn't take long to settle in. One of your very early games, 30 points, 11 rebounds, 15 assists against Sydney Spirit in 2006. You also had a 41-point game throughout your career with the Wildcats. Is there a single game which you look back on and just think, I felt unstoppable in that match?
Oh, look, I mean, it is one of those things where when you're in the zone, it is a fun place to be, especially at this high level, when you just feel like anything you throw up is going to go in. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's a pretty special feeling, especially when you do something like that at home and the crowd's into it. I was fortunate. I played with some incredible point guards, especially Damian Martin, Brad Robbins, and those guys that kind of knew the game, and when you got players that can really know the game and can kind of set you up, it makes the game easy on your end as well.
You enjoyed so much team success as well, and the club has enjoyed immense success. Your first championship came in your first season as captain.
24-point lead with Perth. They are going to win the NBL Championship of 2010. The Perth Wildcats become the most successful team in NBL history.
So most successful team in NBL history back then. They're clearly the most successful team in NBL history now. The interesting thing was the club hadn't won a championship in a decade. So you mentioned that golden era of those blokes before you, and it's been a golden era since that time as well. So what was it like getting the club back to that sort of level for the first time in a little while?
Yeah, I think it was kind of that monkey off your back a little bit. That the expectations are to win championships, and I've been here since 2005, and we really hadn't had a chance at winning it yet. We made a couple semifinals, but we hadn't made the grand final yet. And then that year, it was a completely different team. I mean, they almost got rid of everyone, I think, besides me, Paul Rogers, Jeff Dowdell, I think, and Brad Robbins. And then the rest of the team was brand new. And, Rob Beveridge came in and kind of brought a different feel to and I guess a different style as well. And I remember having a chat to him saying, he was going to sign this. We already had Brad Robbins, who was one of the best defenders in the league. And then he's like, we're going to sign Damian Martin, which I only really knew a little bit about him. He played only a few games, I think, the year before the Spirit, before he'd gotten injured. But obviously, Bevo spoke quite highly of him, and I'm thinking, well, two defensive point guards, we're definitely going to have to play some pressure defense, and boy, did we do that. We, full court, we were, 40 minutes. I remember that game, game 3. I think Illawarra came out on fire. They were up like 15 in the first half at some point, and I'm thinking, geez, we can't lose. Game 3 at home in the grand final, and then Kevin Lish just goes berserk. I think he had a half-court shot at the end of the three-quarter time, and it just changed. And that was the way our team played that year. We were just full court. If you were going to beat us, you're going to have to play all 40 minutes. We were going to try and tire you out, and it was almost like a tag team effort. When Damian Martin went off, Brad Robbins came in. When I came off, Jesse Wagstaff, that was his rookie year. So, I really didn't think that we had the team capable of winning the championship that year, so it probably made it a little bit more special that we did win it, because we had so many young guys. I mean, you look at the photos of Jesse and Damian Martin and those guys. It was you could tell how young and inexperienced we all were, but we were just making the most of the opportunities.
So what sort of a captain were you given? As I said, it was a new team, a young group as well. Like, what sort of captaincy philosophy did you have?
Oh, look, I think I was, God kind of led by example, putting in the extra work off the court, making sure, we were ready for the game, and, kind of just set the standard of, what it means to be a Wildcat. I think that, you put on that red jersey and you get out there in front of the Red Army. It's a true privilege. And, looking back on it now, it's one of those things you miss, running out, knowing that the Red Army is right behind you, and you get to not only represent your team and your teammates in the country, but or your city, but also the state. I mean, there's a lot of pride in the Wildcats, and just trying to honor. I was fortunate to have Tony Ronaldson and Paul Rogers and those guys who have a tremendous amount of respect to learn from them, and and then partner up with Damian Martin and Brad Robbins to be co-captains down the track as well was a huge honor.
Biggest negative of your time probably would have had to have been that horrific hip injury. Talk us through your memories of that, and whether you had real fears that you might not get back from it.
Oh, I think any realistic probably would have thought that I won't be able to play again. I mean, it's never a good feeling when you wake up from surgery and the doctor walks in and the first question he asks is, do you have any other qualifications other than being a professional basketballer? Because I think those days are well and truly behind you with this injury. So it was, I mean, that's a shock to your system. You're doing what you love. It's something that you dreamt of, from when you first picked up that basketball in year 2. And then all of a sudden it's just an abrupt stop, and you're dealing with not only, an injury, but something that probably could affect the rest of your life, potentially not even be able to walk again. So it just gave you a bit more of appreciation for getting back out on the court. And, I guess I probably took that mindset, and maybe getting, released by New Zealand and all those things that, it wasn't an easy path to eventually get here, probably made me a little bit stronger, and hopefully, I guess, helped me through those difficult times. And, it was probably one of the most proud moments I had individually, was just getting back out on that court for that first game the next season, which actually ended up being in Adelaide, I think.
And not only that, like, you're asked, do you have any other qualifications? You've turned your business career into a basketball career as well, because you're still doing it. You're running clinics and coaching and on court all the time. So your body has stood up to not only playing again, but to post-career constantly being on court.
Yeah, I mean, you got definitely an even greater appreciation for coaching and being able to, I guess, inspire that next generation. I always thought it was tough work playing, but when you're on court coaching 5-6 hours and really mentally engaged, and it's tiring as well. But I wouldn't be doing anything else. I love the game, and be able to get back and inspire that next generation. I just, whether it be watching, coaching, it's, I just think it's a fantastic game. I fell in love with it when I was a young boy, and, I'm lucky to be able to still be involved.
And your young boys fell in love with it as well. How old's he now, and how's he tracking?
Look, he's just turned 12 a few months ago, so he's enjoying his basketball, playing for the Perth Lynx Hawks. I'm coaching his team, and it's a lot of fun. He's a better shooter now than I definitely ever was, especially at that age. So he's a knockdown 3-point shooter and enjoying it. I think he's kind of come up in that Steph Curry generation, so everyone wants to shoot the threes. But it's fun just to see that development. From when he picked up the ball when he was probably 6 or 7, and he's enjoying it and having fun. So that's all you can ask as a parent.
And I'm sure he'll be excited to see his old man's jersey heading up into the rafters on Friday night, which will happen post-game this week. So it won't be a pre-game ceremony. It'll be post-game. So there's a little bit of pressure on the players to go out and beat the Kings, to make sure that the crowd is rollicking along at the end of the game. And I'm sure 13,000 people will be singing happy birthday to you as well, given they've timed it perfectly. The number 42 goes up the day before you turn 42. And what do you know about the night? You're going to have lots of friends there roasting you or pumping you up. Do you know much about it at the moment?
Look, I think, my understanding is it's going to be after the game. They've got a few people, involved in the club to have a chat out there on the center court. So it's, I guess from my point of view, I just want the Wildcats to beat the Sydney Kings. I mean, I'm looking forward. I think the Wildcats are coming along. The last 2 games, especially, they've been building some momentum. So I think that would be the ultimate topper for me, is see the Wildcats beat the Kings, who they won the championship last year and had a great year. So I think they're kind of the barometer this year, and I think it'd probably get a good sign to see kind of have the Wildcats made those inroads from the start of the year to now, and see how they track. But I'm excited for the night, and hopefully the fans can celebrate a win and then have another celebration after the game.
So the Wildcats are now 12-10 and in fifth spot, as we said, home against Sydney on Friday and then away to southeast Melbourne on Sunday. And the Phoenix have lost 5 in a row, and whereas they produced a stinker against Brisbane on Monday night. This roster the Wildcats have put together now, everyone questioned when Ty Webster came in why they went with the small rather than the big. Geez, they're fun to watch, aren't they? They can score.
Well, yeah, they put up 112 points the other night, and a lot of their starters hardly played in the fourth quarter, so it was it was an impressive showing. I think to me the win before against New Zealand when Bryce Cotton was having an off game, and they still were able to get a win against a quality team in the Breakers. I think to me that was really encouraging. You were kind of waiting for that game where they needed to just grind out a win when they weren't playing well, and then obviously when they're just shooting the lights out against a talented Adelaide team, I think they're going to be tough to beat. But yeah, I mean it's a tough lineup there when you got Ty and Corey and Bryce. I mean I'd hate to be the coach trying to figure out how do we stop this, because if you stop Bryce, which is, teams are loading up on him. Ty's aggressive and, he's a great passer, but he's also got a little bit of a scoring mentality as well. So, he starts getting 4, 6, 8 points, and then Corey starts going, and then, all right, we'll loosen up, and then that gets Bryce going. It's it's a scary lineup, and then you throw in Manic when he's hitting threes out of everywhere on the court. It's a tough lineup to defend when you got so many scores.
Will certainly be a big night on Friday night. So look, thank you very much for coming on. Thanks for your time. Players rarely get the opportunity to be celebrated in the years after their retirement, and certainly not when their kids are an age to really enjoy it. So Friday night promises to be a massive occasion. We hope you have a great time. We hope your family has a great time, and thanks for coming on the Dribble podcast.
Appreciate it.
Well, it's always a big moment for any athlete when they receive the honour of representing their country. For Perth Lynx star Amy Atwell, the chance to pull on the green and gold uniform hasn't happened yet, but she is one significant step closer after being picked for the Opals for their 2023 Asia Cup and 2024 Olympic squads. And I'm happy to say Amy is online at the moment. Amy, welcome back to the Dribble podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the first time you were on the Dribble podcast was the day of you were drafted to the WNBA. It took forever to try to find you. I was talking to your dad, I was talking to your sister, I was talking to people at uni. It was a bit crazy. This is a bit easier to find. You're just driving home from training, aren't you?
Yeah, just driving home has been a crazy, almost a year now since I spoke to you after getting drafted and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely a bit easier to contact me now.
So what does this opportunity mean for you now to be selected in this Opals squad?
Oh, it's unreal. I think it's every little girl's dream. It was the first kind of thing that I set my mind to when I picked up a basketball and was like, one day I want to put on the green and gold and I want to represent my country. And it's the highest honor in kind of any professional sporting realm, so it means the world just to be one step closer and be able to be named in that squad. So
a lot of people would view WNBA as the pinnacle or trying to get to that first, but you always looked at it as the Opals were the absolute goal, number one, top of the pecking order.
Yeah, well, I've said it before, and like the WNBA kind of just came up on me. I had a really good senior season, and it kind of came out of nowhere, but yeah, Opals has been the dream since day one, and wearing Australia across my chest has been the dream since day one.
So how do you find out you've been picked? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it a Zoom session? How does the process work?
It was an email, actually, and I had got the email after training on, I think it was Thursday, and I just checked my phone, and I don't really normally read that much into my emails. So I kind of checked my phone and looked at it. I was like, oh, okay, and then just clicked on it. I was like, wait, hang on a second. And then it kind of hit me what was happening.
So is that from Sandy or is that from someone at BA?
From Sandy, yeah.
So had you ever received an email from Sandy before?
Never. So I probably should have caught on sooner when I got an email from Sandy.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the really interesting part about your selection. Not many Aussies get drafted to the WNBA before, but you have, especially ones who haven't played for Australia at any level before. Like, were you forgotten about at any point through your junior development, or did you just develop so much at the WNBA level that was the reason why you hadn't worn a green and gold jersey as a 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, I had an extremely tough age group growing up. I had a lot of talent in my age group, and I do like to think that I probably matured and, I guess, progressed in my career a lot faster at an older age. So, I mean, I was always around and about when I was younger, but I was never able to crack into the Australian junior squad or anything like that. And I think my time at Hawaii really kind of flipped my career on its head and kind of took off from there.
So what changed in Hawaii? What was the key?
Well, I had a whole bunch of knee injuries and stuff through my first couple of years at Hawaii, and then once I finally was getting healthy again, I kind of just was like, I'm kind of getting to that age. I was 20, 21, and I was like, if I really want to make a crack at this, it's going to be now or never kind of thing. And it was during that COVID year, coming back from COVID, I was just like, pretty much was like, all right, it's kind of now or never, and put everything I had into it, got in the best shape of my life, was a lot more committed to everything that I had ever been, and I kind of reaped the benefits through my basketball.
So when you look at you on court, you look strong, you look lean, you look fit. You've got a real fitness element to the way you just move on court and the way you look in general. Is that something that you only developed a bit later? Was it? Were you previously not as necessarily professional, or the way you approach things as a younger athlete? Were you not the same look back then, I suppose you could say?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten fitter and stronger for sure. A little bit of that was just my knee injuries and stuff, and not being able to put in the work and the workload that I can now, just because of obviously health and physical health reasons. But I definitely put a big emphasis on getting just physically in the best shape, regardless of kind of basketball skill, and putting myself in the best position to be able to maintain that workload and put in the work that is required. And I did a lot of work with my strength and conditioning coach at Hawaii on my fitness and my strength and kind of my physique, and it's worked.
And that was a knee reco, wasn't it, in that first year in Hawaii, or was it the second year in Hawaii?
So, yeah, it was actually before I went to Hawaii. A couple months before I went to Hawaii, I had a knee reco, and then I had another couple meniscus surgeries over in Hawaii. So it was kind of like a 3.5 year thing of just knee reconstruction. Took me the 12 months, of course, and then it was just like another couple niggly meniscuses here and there, which was a month here, a month there, and just kind of adds up when it's back to back.
So when you've got so much going on, the thing that I found really interesting on draft day was that normally when someone gets drafted, Basketball Australia celebrates from the rooftops. You know, Shyla Hill, Ezzy Magbagor, even Jade Melbourne were all given shout-outs on social media, Luke Travers, Dyson Daniels. You didn't get mentioned by Basketball Australia until after you'd put something out yourself. Did you feel like you'd almost been forgotten about because you hadn't been in their face and through pathway programs and, as you said, not playing for a little bit? Was that sort of the feeling about why you may not have been mentioned on the day?
Oh, I mean, I honestly didn't even notice, and it's not something I read too much into. I had been over in Hawaii for 6 years, and like you said, I had never been a part of the Basketball Australia junior teams or anything like that. So, I mean, I had to put myself on the map somehow. But, no, I didn't even notice. Nothing I read into, and obviously I haven't been in the Basketball Australia program as a junior, so it makes sense.
So how well do you know this squad personally?
The Australian squad?
Yeah, the players you'll be preparing for when you go into camp, how well do you know them?
Well, I know a few of them, obviously playing with a couple of them now and playing against a lot of them. Personally, I don't know a lot of them too well, but I'm excited to get to know them.
And the one thing that stands out with this squad, I reckon, when you look at some of the players that have been selected, is the three-point shooting. It could be a real weapon for the team, and that's certainly something you've been displaying in recent games.
Loves playing for this Perth Lynx side. So too does Amy Atwell. And nails a three! Atwell now launches! Atwell. Massive! Atwell. Oh, with the hand in her face!
Yes, could not miss the other night. It was quite amazing how you were performing. As I said, there are so many talented shooters in this squad. Does that really excite you that you can all come together? Yeah,
definitely. I think there is some amazing shooters in that squad, and it's going to be really exciting to see where that goes and where the Australian squad and team goes and where that can take us.
So Australia obviously had a poor Olympics with the Liz Cambage controversy plaguing them. Then they won bronze at the World Cup with a vastly different-looking team. France 2024 is 19 months away, and Sammy Whitcomb will be 36, and Kayla George and Mariana Tola will be 35. Tess Madgen will be 34. Form dictates everything, obviously, when it comes to birth dates as well, but there's an Asia Cup along the way for this group also. But it does feel like it's a big opportunity for the next wave of players. Has there been any messaging along those lines that's been put out to you all?
No, not really, and I think they probably won't until... I mean, age is just a number at this point. I think Sammy showed everybody the other night that she's still in career best form and can still do whatever she wants on the court, basically. So I think in that terms of that, it's just, I don't think you read too much into age. I mean, yes, of course, but if they're still performing at the highest level, and Kayla George has just been insane this year as well. So they're very much showing us that they're still in career form and can still perform at that level.
So Olympics, there's everyone's dream, I reckon, from the time you start growing up. Well, you mentioned wanting to play for the Opals. Was the Olympics the big pinnacle, even on top of wearing that green and gold?
Oh, definitely. I think when you think Opals, you think World Cup and Olympics. That's kind of like the highest stage, and that's the pinnacle. And, of course, you want to wear the green and gold, but to do it at the Olympics would just be, like, dream come true.
How did you watch the World Cup? What sort of a fan were you when it was on the TV? Were you sitting at home watching it by yourself? Were you hanging out with other players from the Lynx? Like, what was it like when the Opals come together? What's the basketball community do that you hang out with?
I actually watched most of the games just at home with my mum. A few of them were after training. We missed a couple of them due to just conflict with training times. But no, I was just at home watching them with my mum, actually.
Up and about the entire time as Lauren Jackson went nuts in a couple and Sammy went nuts in a couple?
Oh, of course. I mean, knowing that I was about to play with Sammy and just being able to watch Lauren Jackson again on that stage for the final time is just a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing.
And you had that moment on the weekend where you scored 25 points in a game where Sammy absolutely runs amok. Lauren Jackson fouled out, so he didn't get to spend much time on court going up against her. But that game where you couldn't miss must have been really fun. Yeah,
no, it was super fun, and we kind of knew coming in that we hadn't beat any of the top 4 teams, and if we really want to make a push for finals, then we're going to have to start doing that eventually. And I think we've shown across the last couple of weeks that we can play some really good basketball, and we're all on the same page and clicking, and it was nice for it to all come together.
And it's a really great example, I reckon, for younger players with yourself. What you and I spoke a couple of weeks about how your three-point shot just suddenly deserted you. You were 4 of 22 at 18% across 4 games, and in the last 3 matches you're 10 from 20, and you just haven't looked like missing. Even the ones that have missed, they've gone so close. Like, shooters just have to keep shooting, don't they? You just have to maintain your faith that eventually they will start landing again and the world will be good.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, you're a shooter. Shooters are... you're more than likely to go through shooting slumps through various stages of your career. Like, sometimes once a year, sometimes it doesn't happen, sometimes it happens at the worst possible moments. But it's definitely just about that confidence of continuing to take that next shot and having the confidence that eventually they will fall and you've put the work in, so it'll come back eventually.
We mentioned WNBA before. It was an amazing experience getting drafted and then playing.
WNBA's Los Angeles Sparks announced on Thursday that the third-round draft choice made the opening night roster. Now, Atwell was impressive in the preseason, scoring 19 points in 15 minutes last week, going 6 for 6 from three-point range.
So you had a great preseason. You get onto court, you start in your first game, and then you're waived after only 4 matches. How do you reflect now on your WNBA experience?
Yeah, I think it taught me a lot. Obviously, I had a really good preseason, hit out with them and made the opening right roster and did all the right things, but it's such a tough league and you got to keep conforming to stay there, and unfortunately I wasn't. But I learned so much from that experience, what it takes to get there, what it takes to stay there, and what it takes to kind of get back. So I've taken that experience and I'm going to continue to use that throughout my career and hopefully get back there.
It feels like a brutal process. Like, you're playing against the Sydney Flames this weekend, and Shyla Heal had the exact same experience as you as a top 10 pick and getting waived, although she didn't even get to play a game. Hannah Shervin is also playing for the Flames at the moment, and she was drafted to pick after you. She got 3 opportunities, and then she was pushed out as well. Is it really hard for draftees just to have the opportunity to impress and stay in the system?
Yeah, well, it's an extremely competitive league, and there's only 12 teams with 12 roster spots. There's 144 spots in the league for the best talent in the whole world. So it's extremely tough to get in there and stay there. And when you have such talent in the league already, coming in as a draftee and a rookie, it's like you got to put your best foot forward. Otherwise, they have other people.
Do you get any feedback from them in the months afterwards? Like, is there any contact that continues, given you've had a relationship with them, or are you left to your own devices just to figure it out?
Yeah, no, I haven't had much contact with them, but it's basketball at that level. It's a business as much as anything, and they're going to move on to the next who's on the squad kind of thing. And I spoke to some of them when I left. There was no bad blood. I still have good relationships with a lot of them, and keep in touch with a few of them through Instagram, staff members, players and stuff. But yeah, in terms of the basketball side of things, not much.
It's amazing to think that you spent such a large portion of your actual life living in Hawaii, given you were there for so long. How have you settled back into living in WA, back with the family and all in the things that you grew up with, but that would have changed so much while you're away?
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely tough at first coming back after 6 years, and I moved back in with my parents. I think moving back in with your parents after not living with them for 6 years for anyone would be a bit of an adjustment. But they understood that, and I've got definitely feel much more comfortable now coming back, and I'm back in my routine of playing and traveling and stuff like that. So I'm super happy being back here now that I've settled in and kind of got used to it again.
Looking at your social media stuff, it was obvious you loved Hawaii. What was it like living over there, and how much do you miss it?
Oh, I do miss it a lot, and it was an unreal lifestyle. I mean, I loved the basketball and everything, but just the ability to, on a Sunday off day, to just go 10 minutes down the road and spend the whole day at the beach with my teammates and just relax and just have that as kind of my backyard was unreal. And the people there are amazing and all that kind of stuff. So I did spend a big chunk of my life there, and I loved it and definitely do miss it. So
do you plan on heading back to Hawaii as like a second home sort of thing during the off-season, or do you think you'll play NBL 1? Will you rest? Will you go somewhere else? Like, hopefully you get WNBL, obviously, but do you know what you'll do at the end of this season?
Not entirely yet. I have some options and trying to keep my options open. You mentioned most of them, but it's something I'll start chatting to my agent about probably in the next couple of weeks and try figure something out. I don't really have obviously preference is, try to get a WNBA training camp and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes.
The team's flying at the moment. It's a massive game this week against the Flames. You've won 4 in a row. You'd love to take it to 5, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. But we're not underestimating Sydney. Sydney's a great team. And yeah, but it would be great to take it one more and go 5 in a row and kind of keep this momentum rolling.
I'm told the team really enjoyed the superhero Lauren Scherf's photos in the West last week. Obviously, I knew we'd done it. She knew she'd done it. Chloe Bibby knew that she'd done it because she was part of the article, but everyone else found out about it when the paper came out. What was the reaction from the team upon seeing the brilliant photos from Andrew Ritchie of Lauren tearing her shirt apart, coming out as a superhero from a phone booth?
Oh, it was the talk of the town. I don't think anyone's shut up about it yet. She's now Super Chef. No, she's not. Nobody calls her anything but Super Chef now. So, but no, I mean, it's no surprise what she's done this season. And after that 22 points in a quarter, it's kind of just in awe of that girl sometimes.
Certainly was a fun thing to be involved with. I was standing on the ladder providing some shade for her because it was 34 degrees. I'm standing on the side of the road on a ladder over the top of a phone booth. She couldn't fit in the phone booth because she's so big. It was a lot of fun to be involved with. I don't think we really ever estimated how big she was when we asked her to stand in there. So it was good fun. Look, thanks so much for your time. As I said, the Lynx are away to the Sydney Flames from 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. They're chasing 5 wins in a row. You've been a hell of a lot of fun to watch this season, Amy, and long may that continue. So thank you for coming on the Dribble Podcast.
No worries. Thank you, Craig.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Dribble Podcast. Remember, you can read all of your basketball news in the West Australian newspaper and keep logging on to thewest.com.au. Thank you to Shawn Redhage and Amy Atwell for their time. Thanks to the wonderful Shannon Bevan for her production work. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Dribble Podcast.